The greatest single factor that contributes to pipeline incidents is what is called in the trade third-party damage. And as I had indicated, third-party damage is the single greatest danger to gas lines.
The meeting that was that occurred a couple weeks ago was a bit of an eye-opener for me. I mean, I really didn't think about natural gas distribution too much. Then basically, quite a few citizens brought examples of essentially of pipelines causing major havoc. Essentially. I guess, what can you say to that may be reassuring to that? And
here's what I would say. The comparisons that I have seen being discussed over the last few weeks, all were on transmission lines that operated above 30% of SMICE. And that's why that calculation becomes so critical.
It seems like College Avenue would be the straightest shot in terms of elevation changes and curves for the pipeline, and the shortest route. Did you consider putting the pipeline under the sidewalk to the north of College Avenue, which would not disrupt the highway? And my guess is, being at the edge of campus, doesn't have all those tunnels that you were talking about in the middle of campus.
Well, actually, what we found that there are 3 very large structures along there that would entail in order for us to get under them, there are places where we would have to install the main 20 feet deep. And because, for all practical purposes, that made it inaccessible to us to do any maintenance over the life of the facility, we determined that that was simply not feasible. Typically, we need to be 8 feet deep or less so we can dig down with conventional backhoes and conventional trench boxes to do maintenance. And honestly, building a facility as this one will be, which we would easily expect to be in the ground for 75 years, we need to be able to maintain it on an as-needed basis, and at 20 feet deep, that would not be the case. And so typically, we target 8 feet or less, and 8 feet is really a maximum depth. Now, not that directional boring under rivers and under special cases can't be done, but that's with the recognition that if there was any serious problem, you would simply shut the line down and replace it with another directional bore. And again, not practical in this situation.
Yeah, I just wanted to also just say, on the phone call it says that the 20-foot was the depth by one of the engineers on there, but now it's saying 8 inches is the maximum depth. So I'm kind of wondering if I could get an official statement on that.
The 20 feet was unacceptable when it was proposed as a methodology to go down College Avenue. And that was simply unacceptable. We build facilities that we can maintain for the life of the pipeline. And in terms of the equipment that we use, the shoring, all of the mechanisms that are typical to our business, 8 feet is the max. Not that it's impossible to do more deeply, but that makes it incredibly difficult to maintain after. And as the operator, we would simply find that to be unacceptable.
We're taking extra precautions when we install this pipeline. We are doing things like x-raying the welds to make sure that those welds are perfect before we energize it with gas. Once this is in operation, we're taking extra precautions of putting electronic monitoring on the pipeline so that the line can be controlled remotely or manually at the site, so that in the rare event that the pressure changes, we can control that. We can shut the line down if necessary.
That's a critical difference. When we talk about pressure, when we talk about the operation of pipelines, the percent of SMICE really determines the safety margin of a pipeline. Some of you have heard about sensational incidents in the country that got enormous publicity as a result of major pipeline failures. Those operated on lines above 30% of SMICE. Again, we are building this line with a dramatically increased design factor at 13% of SMICE. And so those enormous failures that you read about simply could not happen on this pipe.
Is it, Mr. Stryker, is it an unknown phenomenon for a federal agency like the EPA to relax deadlines if representatives of a large institution, like, for example, a university, go to them and give them good reasons?
I think you're really asking me to speculate on something that I'm not that familiar with. I mean, at this point, they've issued a deadline, which is in 2016, and as far as I know, our obligation is to meet that deadline.
Switching this from coal to natural gas increases air quality by 37%.
Just for my own interest, is the 37% drop of greenhouse gas metric ton equivalent of carbon dioxide, is that 37% site energy or source energy in drop of?
That was not a number that I was involved in calculating. Someone from Penn State helped.
To clarify, I think that one of you three did indicate something to that effect.
Russ, I think that was you.
Yes, we did mention that the 37% of the MTCO2e would reach that MAC regulation, and that is a number we got from Penn State. Because that is the conversion of their steam plant from coal to natural gas.
Is that...
Right,
sorry.
so I guess I'm just wondering if that's including all of the emissions from the fracking aspects, or if that's just putting the limits of the system on the campus. Does that make sense?
There's no fracking involved.
It's coming from a fracking area, so...
Site, then it would be site.
So it's site reductions of emissions, not source of where it's actually coming
Correct.
from. Just want that clarification. Thanks.
The restoration work that will be part of this project represents $2 million of improvements that would not be coming out of the borough budgets, and that includes resurfaced streets, handicap ramps at intersections, and 7,500 feet, linear feet, of sidewalks to, restore the borough.